The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it is in everyone's best interest to consult a legal, tax, or investment professional. John Cyndia is an investment advisor representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corporation, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. Life Stages Advisory is not affiliated with USA Financial Securities. Life Stages Advisory, Dean or Remington, or any guest we have are not affiliated with USA Financial Securities. Welcome to episode 59 of WTF, Wealth, Taxes, and Finances. I'm your host, John Cyndia, certified public accountant and personal financial specialist. What we want to do is continue from our previous episode where we had Doctor Tracy Price in, who's a chiropractor, and was talking about an antiviral and vitamin regimen to stay healthy, because what we're trying to do at this point is tie in everything from the financial aspect that we already do, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be practical, save up for retirement, and do this and be very sickly and unhealthy and not be able to spend and enjoy your money on retirement. So we're tying all this in from a physical, mental, and fiscal health standpoint. And what we're trying to do is, there again, make this content for everyone out here. And we'd like to see all of your comments, what you, other ideas that you'd like to have for us. Go back to the last episode and see that one. This one we're going to talk about with the doctor about our microbiomes and gut health. And you're going to see where this ties in from the last episode. So make sure that you like us, you love us, you end up, what was that last thing that you said the last time?
Hit the thumbs up and ring the bell.
Yes, see? So we got the doctor already in on here. He's going to be our cheerleader this time. And ding, ding, okay? So without further ado, hi, doctor. How you doing?
Hey, John. Real good. Great to be here.
Yep. We had a good time the last time, and I think it was very informative. And even from the millennial standpoint with Remington and Dean here, they got a lot out of it, knowing that they have to cut back on their speed drinks and their buzzkill. What was that?
My 8 energy drinks a day?
Yes, the energy drinks,
dang.
yeah. They have to go from 12 a day down to maybe
I
one
thought
or
the
two a
doctor
week.
said that that was good oil.
Oh.
Is it not?
You ever see the sugar in those?
No, I don't look at that stuff. I will when I'm 40, and I'm like, oh, God, I wish I would have looked at that earlier.
Now I know what the doctor meant by that. Either that or you can go back to eating, like 80 pounds of spinach per drink, I think. Would that offset it?
Yeah, that might do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about microbiomes. What are they? Does everybody have them? And why should I care?
Yeah. So, the microbiome, it's become a big thing recently, last 5 to 7 years, but a lot of research in it. And basically, microbiome is the microbes in your gut and your intestinal tract. Right?
Okay.
So there's a lot of different bacteria. There's trillions of different bacteria in your gut. And what they're trying to do now, you know how they mapped out the DNA several years ago? And so they're trying to do that now with the gut. And then from that, they can see the good bacteria, bad bacteria, and how to treat, and kind of be more specific in their antibiotic therapy and what we can do to correct that as well. So there's, trillions of different names, and a lot of these names in the gut are very long and kind of cumbersome to pronounce. So we will, we'll really get into that. But I think how can we improve that? The overall picture of how we can improve as individuals, our gut is a good way to address this.
Now, what is my gut? Where is it? And is it part of my stomach, my intestine? I mean, where am I going to find my gut?
Yeah, so your gut's really a 30-foot tube from your mouth to your anus, right?
Oh, okay.
So, your digestive tract, I should say. So if food comes in, there's a microbiome within your mouth as well. And dentists know this very well because a lot of the endotoxins and bad bacteria can get released from your mouth into your system as well. And my dentist kind of brought this to my attention several years ago of how these studies have been done from periodontal disease and things getting released from your mouth into your gut and then causing problems with the microbes in your gut. So your food comes from your mouth. You got to, chew it up, digest it in your mouth, goes down to the tract, into the stomach, and then small intestine, large intestine, then you'll excrete it out. So most of the filtration or the nutrients get supplied to the body through the small intestine, and then in large intestine is where really a lot of the microbes then are, and you don't want those microbes backing up into the small intestine. That's one of the things called SIBO, small intestine bacterial overload.
Okay.
And essentially what that is that your microbes in your large intestine are backing up into your small intestine, and then the reason you don't want that to happen because that's where a lot of things get excreted out of your small intestine into your system. That's where your nutrients are going to get. So when you eat something, and you chomp it up and goes down to your stomach, your gastric juices in your stomach kind of break it up a little bit more, and then it goes in your small intestine. Then the carbohydrates, fats, proteins, nutrients will get released from the small intestine, and then it goes into the large intestine to then get chomped up in the bad bacteria. And interesting enough, each bacteria kind of has their own job duties, right? So one might start chomping down on carbohydrates and break that down a little bit, and then the bacteria will finish it up, and then the certain bacteria will be responsible for the protein, chomp that up, and then break it down to smaller particles as it goes through. So it's really amazing what we learned over the years of the gut and how it affects the body. And because it's kind of it's hard to realize the symptoms that you can have that are coming from your gut and what you eat. And there's a big disassociation with how people feel and what they're eating. And I think like a perfect example of that is eczema. Skin break out. And a lot of times will come from the gut and bad microbes in your gut. And
is that right?
Yeah. So, and who would think that, you see this dryness and this rash and stuff on your skin, who would think that would come from the gut? But it does. A large majority of that does.
Now, when you're in there, say you get sick, and whether you got the flu or whatever, and I think we can tie this back into the virus that we had, or if you get the COVID virus or something, how does that interact with the gut? And I'm assuming it kills the bacteria, so then that's how we get these pre and probiotics, and how does all that tie in?
Yeah, so usually, the antibiotics you take are usually, they work into the gut. So the problem is that when you take an antibiotic, a lot of times they kill the good bacteria along with the bad bacteria. It's kind of like an antibomb going off in your gut. And sometimes that can last for years, get that microbiome back to where a good, healthy state. Interesting enough, too, like it depends on culture you live in. Like people in America, their microbiome will be completely different than someone in the South Pacific Island.
Oh, right? Really?
Yeah. So not all microbiome is different. If you can actually change your microbiome from moving away and going into a different culture for 6 months or a year or so, because you start eating different things. Okay. And so it will change your microbiome.
Now, if you say you have that, and I've had an antibiotic or whatever, what if I don't build my microbiomes back up? What does that do, and how does that make me feel? And then in order to counteract that, what should I do to build it back up again?
Yeah, so the term is dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is anytime when your gut bacteria comes out of normal. You start having symptoms, or your gut bacteria is not normal, functioning properly. It's dysbiosis. So if you hear the term dysbiosis, it means your gut bacteria is operating like. So the main thing is to try to get good bacteria back into your gut, and that's mainly through diet and bone broth, things like that, cabbage, fermented foods, sauerkraut, cabbage, things like that.
Some of those yogurts and stuff that you see.
But you got to be very careful of yogurts because a lot of them have a lot of high sugar content.
Okay.
So if you get
that Activia, what about that stuff? Is that good, or is that still?
You have to look at the sugar content.
Okay.
Like kefir's good too, but a lot of that, especially if you're getting flavors, has like I don't know, 15, 20 grams of sugar in a
Gotcha.
container. I mean,
Okay.
or a serving size, I think.
Okay.
So you just got to be really careful of that, because that stuff is good. Yogurt is good. Is providing, 3 or 4 or 5 probiotic to it. But you just have to be really careful with sugar, especially ones with the fruit flavored ones.
Okay.
Usually there's some sugar associated with that or some fructose in there.
Okay.
So, and that's one of the big driving factors of creating dysbiosis is sugar.
Okay.
Sugar, flour, and bad oils. There are three prongs to that. And those are all going to affect the create dysbiosis. So when that happens, what it forms is what they call endotoxins. Endotoxins are kind of like, if you can imagine, it's a round cell, and from that round cell, there's little finger projections coming off of it. And on those finger projections are leucopolysaccharides.
Okay.
Isn't that a good word, John? That sounds like I went selfish and got educated.
Yeah, we didn't even have to have a board up there for you to see.
Right? How did I remember that?
I don't know.
Remember LPS, so leucopolysaccharides. So what they do is they'll diffuse out through the gut lining and create these endotoxins, and endotoxins are very inflammatory, and then these endotoxins trigger ACE1, ACE2 inhibitors, or ACE1, ACE2 enzymes. ACE1 enzyme repairs and ACE2 destroys. So what happens, those endotoxins stimulate the ACE2 inhibitors, start destroying tissues. And depending on where that tissue is, if it's an arterial wall, then it starts creating problems within the epithelial lining of the arterial wall, or if it's a joint, it'll start causing problems within the joint. It almost becomes like a autoimmune problem. And as a matter of fact, a lot of autoimmune problems are from the gut because of these polysaccharides being released, then the endotoxins, and then these ACE inhibitors. And there's a cascade of effects what occurs. So, and that's the other thing is that, this all takes time to occur. It doesn't happen with one meal. It's a like a habit, if you would say, or a course of lifestyle that catches up with you over a course of time.
How do I know if I might not be feeling well, but how would I know that my gut is upset and it needs looked after? And what type of a doctor would I go to say, hey, I'm not feeling good. Does my gut happen to have anything to do with this?
Yeah. Well, first I would look at your diet, and the gastroenterologist, a lot of times they'll scope you and look, and you make sure, obviously you want to rule out pathology that way, polyps and tumors in the intestinal tract and things like that. It's good to have a screening for that. But the other thing is that you just have a plethora of symptoms. You might have, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, diabetic, mental health problems, autoimmune disease, things like that. So that's the deceptive thing about the gut, is that you don't always have to have pain in your gut to have dysbiosis.
Okay.
You have symptoms distally from there to have dysbiosis. So
now, does it cause, if I say I got sick after I had, like we talked about in the previous episode, some breads or wheats, if you had celiac, that's got to affect your gut, right?
Right. So, and that's one of the things that people should be very conscious of is when they eat something, how do you feel after you eat it? How do you feel?
So it can affect you fairly quickly.
Oh, yeah. And the quicker it affects you, the closer it is to your digestive. Like if it affects you right away, it's probably a stomach issue. Affects you a little bit later, it's probably a small intestine issue. Affects you later, it's probably a large intestine issue. So you can kind of, because the food's going to move down the system as it goes along. So that's one of the important things, just how do you feel after you eat a certain item? And then, if you eat multiple items together, like you have bread and pasta, which one is it? So you have to kind of start splitting them out and see which one bothers you most, because some people can eat some things and other people can't eat other things. They found that in the gut, there's certain viruses in the gut that people have different viruses in their gut, and that they'll react to different foods. Like some people can't eat green peppers, but some people can. So it could be the microbes or mycotoxins onto the peppers. You know, that not all those things are free of viruses themselves. So, and we do carry around viruses in our gut. You know, if we've had mono, you have the Epstein-Barr virus. So it's a matter of keeping these things in check. And if you get dysbiosis, it's hard to keep these microbes in check, right? So, you know, no one's 100% healthy and never have any problems. You have to kind of just keep all these things in check. Health is a continuum. You know, you're either really, really sick or you feel real good, but you can always sway in that continuum at some point.
Now, if say I had something that I had the flu or something, can I automatically say, and I didn't take any antibiotics, I just had the flu, I was sick for 2 or 3 days, throwing up, diarrhea, whatever, and can I assume then that my gut is going to be screwed up? So then what should I do to try and get it back? Because you were saying, like, some of these could be upset for years, and people just sort of go, well, that's just normal for me, and it's really not normal for anybody, even though they're used to it, and their gut might be screwed up for a long time.
Yeah, it can be. And so the first thing to start with is just to get back on a healthy diet and get the sugars and flour and bad oils out of your system. You know? But keep in mind, when you get sick like that, you know, people think of it as a bad thing, and it's not fun to be sick, but look how amazing our body is. It's getting rid of your toxins. It's getting rid of the flu virus by doing that, right?
Okay.
So
there's a good thing about throwing up and having diarrhea. It had to get out.
It's like
done.
a cleansing mechanism for your body, right?
Okay.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just then you got to get back on track and get that straightened out.
So that chicken soup is going to really help that.
Yeah, as long as it's not from a can.
Right. No.
No, from a bag.
No, it'd be from those chicken bones that, you know, we had from all those wings that we didn't eat or whatever.
Right.
But so if we did homemade chicken soup, then
some chicken, organic chicken broth, bone chicken broth, and put a little bit of chicken in there, and then cabbage and Brussels sprouts and
do all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's, and you keep going back to like the fermented stuff. So coleslaw, cabbage, stuff like that. Anything.
Sauerkraut.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Should be good. Then once you get to that point, how long does it normally take? All right, my system's cleaned out. I'm going to assume I don't have any good or very much microbiomes. What's it do to take a week or two to do this stuff?
Well,
if weeks,
if it's an acute illness, just a couple weeks, you'll probably be back good. But if you have a long-standing problem, fibromyalgia that's been with you for years, or some autoimmune disease that's been with you for years, it can take a long time. It can take a year of changing your diet, changing what you're doing, changing your habits. That's going to make changes, and it's going to be little changes because you got it's a natural thing. You got to change nature over a course of time. Time repetition changes nature, not acute changes.
Now, I guess the problem is to balance all this stuff. From, like you say, what you're saying is, we're talking about natural ways to help yourself. Yet you go to the doctor for something, they're going to treat you with some type of a pill or whatever.
Right.
How do you fight that if you're going to the doctor? There's not that many people like you around that can understand the physician side of it versus the practical side. So how do we know we're on the right track or who to talk to?
Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into this, because as chiropractors, we always kind of tell that we treat the cause and not the symptom, right? And so much of the medical profession treats the symptom and not the cause. So they prescribe the medication, treat the symptom of the problem, not the cause of the problem. So you can always contact me at sciencebasedhealthcare.com or sciencebasedhc@google.com.
Okay.
But you really have to look, again, it gets back to the diet and look at the medication, what they're trying to accomplish with it. And, sometimes antibiotics, it's a funny thing because, they've been one of the greatest lifesavers of all time, but then now as we use them more and more, they become one of the more problem things of all time, right? And now the viruses or the bacteria or superbacteria now, right? And that some of the antibiotics don't work with it. Interesting enough, there was a study done University of Cincinnati at the Children's Hospital that showed that kids with C. diff had such an abnormality in their gut compared to kids that didn't have chronic C. diff. So it was the bad bacteria that were overwhelming the good bacteria, and that's why they have this chronic C. diff. So sometimes, and knowing these microbes in it is going to make the antibiotic therapy much better and more efficient, because if you can identify the microbes that are in abundance and they're bad, then you can will be able to develop things to specify those bad bacteria and rid them out of the gut and kill them off, and then help to generate good bacteria. The important thing is too, you want diversity. You want diversity in your diet. So you don't want to just grow tomatoes in your garden, right? You want to grow green beans, you want tomatoes, you want cabbage, you want lettuce, you want corn, you want peppers, you want, so you want diversity in your gut. So you want to eat diversity. The only way you get diversity in the microbes in your gut is eat diversity. Okay. You don't want to be eating the same thing day after day after day after day. Although I'm kind of guilty of that too. But if you got, if you're cutting out the sugars and bad flour and oils, your things to choose from becomes more and more limited, right? I mean, walk through a grocery store and how many things are in a box compared to how many things grow off a tree or come out of the ground, sure, or off a cow, So it becomes a lot different in a much smaller list when you cut out all the box stuff and processed stuff.
Now, when we're looking at all, say, the vegetables and stuff, and you go to the stores and they got them all laid out with the vegetables and fruits and everything looks great. But then there's also the organic aisle that they all look all gnarly and stuff like that. And right. It's like, yet those are probably better for you than the rest of the stuff. Because there again, we're going back to these, all the
chemicals,
insecticides and everything else. So.
Right. Yeah. So, that's the problem. How do you know where the stuff comes from? But, if you pick a fruit or vegetable or whatever, and you eat that, wash it, apple cider vinegar or something, you eat it, you're still better off than eating, something box that has a bad oil in it. But yeah, organic's better, especially things growing in the ground, because if it's bad soil, like say a carrot for example, if it's bad soil, that's all gonna capture into the vegetable. So, I mean, the absolute best thing is to grow your own, right? So you're using all organic and it's coming from a good source. But you're kind of limited in what you can do with that too. But I would say, vegetables and stuff like that, try to get it organic the best you can. Yeah. And things that grow from a tree, make sure you wash it, or plant, make sure you wash it first.
So from that standpoint, so then there again, we're going back to, like we said in the previous episode, that a good diet, some good exercise.
Diet, it's really a 3-prong thing. I think it's a diet, exercise, and plenty of rest. Okay. Studies have shown that rest really upsets the microbiome. And a funny thing about it too is the exercise has been done in moderation. Like they've shown that marathon runners, their microbiome gets really out of whack. Really? Yeah. So because that hard, intense exercise, the body kind of goes into a state, a shock state, and starts the good bacteria or the bad bacteria starts overtaking. Also, stress is amazing that how the bad bacteria kind of take advantage of that. If you're in a stressful situation, the bad bacteria kind of really perpetuate on that the body's under a stressful situation and start growing more. And so, by eating good and doing those things, the things that you eat can cause the good bacteria to multiply as well. So
it sort of goes back to those oils and stuff. So the butter is still better than margarine.
Right. So the oils can get very complicated too, because is it monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, saturated fat, unsaturated fat, and trying to separate all these out is very confusing for most people. So just try to make it simple. I mean, if it's a processed oil, like a vegetable oil or, Crisco or a bottled oil type of thing. Other than olive oil, fish oil is good. Coconut oil is good. Coconut oil is medium chain. Most of those processed oils are long chain oils. So what that means, just biochemically how they're made up, oils are made up of like a carbon chain. And the longer the chain is, the harder it is to process in through the gut. The shorter the chain, the easier it is to process. Olive oil is short chain fatty acid. Coconut oil is medium chain. Fish oil is short chain.
And olive oil was short chain too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like anything with a smaller surface area. It's easier for the gut to break up and go through, and it doesn't have the endotoxic effects and create the endotoxins that a long chain does. Because then you have to get all these bacteria to kind of gobble that up, and then those will get released and create endotoxins because of the bad bacteria being produced. So you really have to watch the flour, the oil, and the sugars, because those are all stimulate bad microbes in your gut.
Now, what about when we did the previous episode about the antiviral strategy with the vitamins and that? Are there any of those vitamins in particular that help the gut that would assist on this side of it as opposed to, preventing the antiviral stuff?
Yeah, vitamin D is a big one that helps
There again,
the gut.
okay.
Yeah, and melatonin helps the gut too. Yeah, vitamin D is a big one. Yeah.
See, my wife's always on me about, she's got these red capsules that, there's some of them that are fish oil. Then there's other ones that are resveratrol.
Yeah.
And then turmeric.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So can you tell me that, is she crazy or is she poisoning me slowly? or is that something that does,
No,
I'll actually take advantage of?
Yeah, glad you mentioned that, because a couple things. So I mentioned the fish oil was good, but the fish oil is good. You have to look at two things with the fish oil. Excuse me. One is that how it's processed. And you got to find a company, and this is hard to do unless you know like the company and the ins and outs of it. Is it processed from boat to manufacturing right away? Because some of these cheaper fish oils, they'll keep them in vats up to a year.
Oh, wow.
And typically those...
That doesn't even sound good.
No, it doesn't, does it? Those are typically the ones that you take and you start burping up and you taste like fish oil all day long because you're burping up fish oil. That's the bad fish oil.
I think I wasn't a doctor and I could have told you that one.
Right.
Okay.
The other thing with fish oil, you want to make sure that the toxins are filtered out of it, because they're getting these from sardines, tuna, things like that. Usually sardines, but if they're getting from tuna and those type of fish, they can be high in mercury and things. So if you don't filter those toxins out and make them pure, then it's a detrimental effect. So those are two big factors with fish oil. Turmeric is excellent anti-inflammatory source.
Okay.
Again, you got to kind of be careful with that. And you really, it's good to know where it's grown, because turmeric, you can take it in liquid form or curcum in tablet form. But turmeric's a root plant, grows into the ground. So you want to make sure the soil's good where it grows in. Otherwise, it's going to capture a lot of those toxins in the soil, and they got to clean it out. And biotics, which has to be ordered through a physician, but they're one of the best, turmeric, because they put an emulsified formula. They lab tested in, lab tested out. The emulsification, what that does, it spreads the nutrient over like a wider spread, so it's easier to absorb. So that's a really good one to take. But turmeric is a good supplement to take. What other one did you mention?
Resveratrol.
Oh, resveratrol, yeah. And that's a good one to take for like an anti-aging type of thing, yeah.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So you really can't tell that I'm 708 years
no,
old. Is that it? Good for my age.
Is that why they call you Moses?
Yes, sir. That's because I'm slow. No.
Right.
But that's another one. Going back to that, when you're talking about the micro, we also have these capsules that are for probiotics, and she has me taking those. But then on part of that, you were saying before that some of those don't even get past your stomach acids.
Yeah.
Now, what do we have to do there?
So they have, there's some research that shows about 90% of those on the market won't even get through the stomach because the gastric juices
Okay.
Destroy them. The only one I found that has research and documentation to back up that they do is Microbiome Labs.
Okay.
And they actually have studies showing that they get into the gut, the intestinal tract. And not only that it's a spore form. So when it gets into the intestinal tract, it'll actually start multiplying in the intestinal tract. So it
Okay.
multiplies more good bacteria into the gut.
Okay.
And interesting enough, when we used to do a lot of our farming back in the day, it's theorized that there were spores onto the plants in that. And that's why we didn't have some of the gut problems we have now.
Okay.
Because of the spores that we were getting from the plants that we were growing. We just came to us naturally. We didn't have to take probiotics and all that
Because they weren't
stuff.
trying to kill everything off
Right.
and saying, oh, it's not good for it.
Right. And then we had talked before about the glyphosate. So the glyphosate's a big driving factor in this too, because it'll actually erode at the gut lining, the mucosa of the gut lining. And when you start to get erosion of the gut lining, then you start seeping even more endotoxins into your system. And when that happens, then you become very inflamed. And that's what it's called leaky gut. Some people have heard of leaky gut.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. Your gut lining actually has microscopic openings in it where these endotoxins then get released and then cause inflammation within your in your body. Microbiome Labs has a great, it's called Mega Mucosa that it's like a powder that you take with your drink, and it helps heal the gut lining as well. So it's kind of they have a kind of a 3-step process of probiotic, healing the gut lining, and getting good bacteria into your gut.
Now, if that would be the case to taking those probiotics, are we going to have the same issue like taking, like you said, some of the vegetables and stuff? If they're going to be broken down, are they still going to get to my gut, from the stomach?
If there's they can prove it that
Yeah.
their probiotic gets through the
Okay.
through the.
But
through
what
the
about
stomach.
just vegetables or something like that?
Oh,
just
would
regular,
they get through? Yeah. Oh yeah.
They get through.
Yeah.
Because they're made to get that way.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Natural way is always the best way.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. From that standpoint.
You gotta heal nature with nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if we were to encapsulate this whole series that we talked about from the last episode about the viral, antiviral concoctions to take and cures to the microbiome, what would be just a general overall way for someone out there listening now to say, okay, I'm going to get on this regimen. Where would I start? How much of this stuff do I need? And there again, we're trying to tie all this in with being fiscally responsible so that they're not going to go broke trying to do this or eat everything organic, because I know that's more expensive. But try to do this in such a way that going forward they can be healthier and live a longer life, so they got more money to spend once they save it with us and we do all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Because when you get older, you can retire. You want to have healthy joints. If you become immobile because of your joint function and how you can move, that leads to a cascade of problems too, right? Because if you can't move and exercise, then you're going to gain weight. You gain weight, you get diabetic, you get heart disease, on and on. So the first prong of it would be obviously the diet. And you hear, well, it's more expensive to eat organically than it is inorganically. But it's not. In the long run, it's really not, because you're not buying medication. You're not. You're more active. You're not buying all the other junk in the boxes and bags and that.
He's talking to me.
So you're taking money away from that side of it,
Yeah.
the junk side, and putting it into the good side. So it's going to help you then be able to go walking. And again, getting back to the 3-prong thing, the diet is the foundation, really. And you got to do that on your own. You can't. The doctor can tell you what's good to eat, but you can YouTube and look, and basically as simple as finding things that grow off a tree or out of the ground, and eat that, and not boxed and processed stuff, because those are the really bad oils in there: the sunflower oils, the canola oils, the those type of oils. Try to eat out less, because if you're gonna eat out, it's the bad oils are cooking in. If you're gonna eat out, eat the salads and things like that, not the fried stuff, because those are just typically canola oil is what they cook with in restaurants. So the diet, the exercise has actually been proven, I think I said that before, good for the microbiome. So you want to exercise, you got to get that heart rate up, and exercise helps maintain your weight. Especially the older you get, it's harder to maintain your rate because your metabolism kind of slows down. So you want to exercise. I think one of the best ways to drive you to exercise is get a dog. Go to a shelter and get a dog. A dog
really?
forces you to go exercise. You ever see the studies of how many people walk if they have a dog compared to the ones that don't have a dog? I mean, it's phenomenal.
No,
So
we had a dog, and it was always.
And you always did walking.
But
right?
I was walking at 2 a.m. Yeah, it's like,
Well, you're still walking.
That's not what I wanted to do.
Doesn't matter what time of day you walk, as long as you're walking.
Yeah, it was just like a baby. It was up every 3 hours or something, taking a dog out.
Right. Yeah, especially when they're puppies. Yeah, so that drives me a lot. I have 2 dogs, and if they don't go walking, they're barking at me that when go walking. So it's a great training partner. And then of course, then the oils with the diet, and get plenty of sleep and rest, because rest is very important. If you ever seen these studies of people that work the 3rd shift and get sleeping about 5 hours a day and stuff, and I treat those patients, and it's amazing how those patients just always look drained.
Really?
Yeah, because they're sleeping 4 or 5 hours. They go to work all night, maybe sleep 3 or 4 hours in the morning, maybe a couple hours in before they go to work or whatever. It's just
any other off shift is just not a natural.
Yeah, the
condition.
circadians. It's just the body was meant to move in the circadians of the sun in the darkness. So it's the natural way.
Jeez, so no wonder so many people are screwed up. We have to all work during the day and party up until 11 with the coronavirus.
Right. Now we can party till whatever. The curfew's just lifted.
Till daylight or dawn or last call, I guess now.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to drink alcohol, you got to make it fun. You can't just be so strict and not have any fun.
Yeah.
So if you're going to drink alcohol, probably like hard liquor is a little bit better, and mix it with like soda water, not like Coke or Sprite or those carbonated beverages like that. So like a vodka and a soda water with some lemon in it is the best way to drink the alcohol type of thing.
I just usually either drink it neat with some water back, or maybe on the rocks with some scotch or bourbon and stuff. But
yeah,
so
you're not mixing those sugary drinks with it, like the Coke and the Pepsis. And
it's a way to ruin good bourbon or scotch.
Right.
So a couple
and wine that's not from the United States and that doesn't have the preservatives in it too.
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
a wine drinker.
Yeah, the wine over there in Italy was fabulous. It was just, like I said, they called their regular table wine was better than anything we have over here for $20-$30 a bottle or something.
Right. It'd
more.
be interesting to see the sugar content in that too, because a lot of the United States wines have a high sugar content in it.
Oh yeah, it was just totally different over there, but it was really fun. So like a couple drinks a week or something isn't going to hurt anything. So that would keep all that in. Now, do I eat M&Ms with that if I do that?
Well, that's going.
I have to do the spinach again, right? So I've got
Right.
bourbon, spinach, and M&Ms. Okay, so that's a no.
That is a no.
Oh God. So all right. Well, listen. I think that was pretty informative. I know my wife's going to listen to both of these episodes. She doesn't listen to any of my other ones. She listens to every one. I'm going to say that. I'm just kidding. Okay. But where can they get a hold of you again? Go ahead and say that.
So it's sciencebasedhealthcare.com. We're in process of getting the web page up. It's under construction right now, but we'll be up hopefully within a month or two. So what's happened? I in the process of selling my practice. I was a chiropractor for 35 years, selling the practice, and now I've always been interested in the blood profiling and got more and more interested in this and the nutritional aspect of it, because I think I can really help more people that way.
Gotcha.
And so this is kind of a new undertaking in a way, but it's something I've been doing for a while. Just always have been doing, just not to this extent. And or contact me at sciencebasedhc@gmail.com.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, I hope this has been informative for everybody. We'll get back to our financial talks next week. But what I want to do is say thank you again. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us, love us, do everything else you can to promote this. And I hit all three. Oh, I didn't hit. What else?
Notifications.
Oh, notifications. What about them?
Turn them on.
Turn them on. Yes, turn on your notifications.
Oh my gosh.
Can you tell this is all scripted? Yeah, anyway. Yeah, well, thanks a lot. And, give the doctor some love here, and I'm sure he'll treat you right. Thanks again. See you next time.